Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Monday, the 23rd day of June, 2025. We have a couple of stories right now that seem to cancel each other out. We're not really sure what to make of it, but we'll give you the latest. First of all, about 2.5 hours ago, almost 3 hours ago, Iran launched missiles at a U.S. military asset at a base in Doha, Qatar, and in retaliation, supposedly, to the nuclear strikes that U.S. did the other day against the three places in Iran, of course, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. But supposedly, most of the stories are that this is a symbolic strike. We'll talk about it in a second. But then we have a second story just came out that says a second headline: senior Iranian official, Iran will continue its retaliation to U.S. attacks. So it's kind of, again, one of these head scratchers. We get a lot of those here, but let's just read the two stories and we'll leave it at that. All right, symbolic and coordinated retaliatory attack. Iran launches 11 missiles at Qatar and also in Iraq. This is from YNET. Now, some people are saying there's only 6 missiles that were all shot down, but here's kind of how the story goes. Qatar's air defense system successfully intercepted the missiles. Iran coordinated the attack with Qatar to avoid escalation. The New York Times reports retaliatory attack comes after Tehran's threats to retaliate against the U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Iran carried out its promised revenge attack for the American bombing of its nuclear facilities, launching missiles at the U.S. Al-Udeid air base in Qatar, the largest U.S. base in the Middle East. Iran claimed the attack was powerful and devastating, but the Americans received advance warning hours before of the intention to carry out the attack, and according to a report in the New York Times, Tehran did so with the deliberate aim of reducing the number of casualties and thus avoiding a significant escalation. By the way, the price of oil has gone down, down, down since this because they consider this an escalation here, and that's good news. All right, Qatar announced for its part that the base was evacuated ahead of time, and that there were no casualties at all in the missile attack, which it said was intercepted. Iran coordinated its Monday night attack on the American base with officials in Qatar and even gave advance warning of the time of the attack in order to minimize casualties and allow all sides an exit point. Three Iranian sources familiar with the operation told the New York Times it was a symbolic need to respond to the U.S. strikes, but in a way that would avoid a full-scale escalation. The sources compared the strategy to a similar move Iran took back in 2020 when it warned Iraq before launching missiles at a U.S. base in response to the killing of General Qasem Soleimani. Iran launched 10 missiles against, some stories say 6, at Qatar and one at Iraq in a counterattack against U.S. strikes on nuclear sites. Explosions were heard over Doha, the capital of Qatar, and military source told Reuters the air defense systems were activated at the U.S. Ain al-Assad base in Iraq, fearing a possible attack. Now, we've heard from a number of sources that nothing happened in Iraq. They had warnings, but seemingly no rocket hit there. Anyway, Qatar's foreign ministry issued a strong statement following the Iranian attack on the Al-Udeid base, stating that Doha strongly condemns the attack and considers it a serious violation of its sovereignty, airspace, international law, and the UN Charter. The statement stated that Qatar's air defense system successfully intercepted the missiles that were launched, and that the country reserves the right to respond in a manner appropriate to the nature and scope of the attack in accordance with international law. Of course, that's to Qatar. The Iranian Tasnim news agency, which is affiliated with the regime, confirmed the attack, reporting that Iran had launched a missile operation called Blessing of Victory against the American bases in Iraq and Qatar. An official statement published by the Iranian forces stated the Revolutionary Guards attacked the base in Qatar with destructive and a powerful missile attack as part of Operation Blessing of Victory in response to the attack on Iranian nuclear facilities by the U.S. The announcement called the base the main headquarters of the Air Force and the largest strategic asset of the American terrorist army in West Asia, and stated that the message of the operation is clear: Iran will not leave any aggression against its sovereignty and national security unanswered. Tehran also warned that any repeated attack by the U.S. will accelerate the collapse of the American military establishment in the region, and the realization of the aspiration to eradicate the cancerous growth of Zionism. And that comes from Iran. Well, basically, according to what everybody's saying, this was an attack, but it was an attack that was symbolic and coordinated, not to meant to hurt anybody or destroy anything, just to show that what we responded to your attack on us the other day. And as people were saying, well, that seems to be that. Here comes the however, the but. There's always one here, isn't it? From Newsmax, this is just, last half hour. Senior Iranian official says Iran will continue its retaliation to U.S. attacks. More symbolic retaliation. Iran will continue its retaliation in response to the United States attacks, a senior Iranian official told Reuters on Monday. He said Iran has the necessary rationality to begin diplomacy after punishing the aggressor, adding if the U.S. seeks negotiations, Israel and the U.S. attacks must stop. All right, so here's where we're at. We've got Iran making some type of symbolic attack, claiming victory. Actually, one of the news agencies in Iran claimed they destroyed the base there, which they basically didn't do anything. Nothing. There's no damage. No bomb actually hit the base. They're all destroyed before they got there. And yet Iran is making the statement that we're going to do it again. We'll continue its retaliation, even though this seems to be only symbolic. What's fascinating, it's been 3 hours now, and the U.S. hadn't even responded to it. There's been no public statement from the U.S., and we're waiting for that from anybody. So we'll wait and see. So that was our latest breaking news. We thought it was going to be something big when we heard about the attack on the base, and we come to find out it was symbolic. They let them know a few hours ahead of time when they would attack. The base was basically unoccupied anyway. No planes, no service people there. So it seems to be much ado about nothing. So it's a rather odd story. But you never know in this war what's going to happen next. Things could switch, things could change as we find out all the time. So anyway, we wanted to bring you the latest. Again, I'm Don Stewart. Thank you so much for watching. If we have something else big to bring to you later today, we'll come back with another edition of Breaking News. Until then, that's all for now. And as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.